Abstract planning is based on abstract ideation. Noticing affordances enables concrete ideation. This is our second major distinction when we're thinking about how we want to form our proposals. And choosing between concrete and abstract ideation can make a big difference in terms of what's going to sustain your motivation, and I'll explain why. Abstract ideation is the norm when it comes to brainstorming techniques. The reason why is because it's psychologically cheap to do so. You don't have to think about your constraints, you don't have to think about what's going on in your life, your relationships, how much resources you have. You just free your mind and you're able to think about anything, explore the possibilities. And the common belief is that if you do this, if you release yourself from constrained thinking, you'll be more ambitious, you'll be able to think bigger, and that's going to allow you to be more creative and pursue things that are actually going to stretch you and fulfill you. However, the problem with abstract ideation is when it comes time to choose an idea and set up a plan and then start pursuing that plan, the plan is not embedded in your actual relationships, or at least it's not fully embedded in your actual relationships. And so you're not going to get good feedback on whether you're on path or what opportunities are available to you as you're on your path. And when you don't have good feedback or you have unreliable feedback, it's really hard to sustain motivation. That's why concrete ideation is so important, because it's based on your actual affordances, your actual relationships, and this is going to set you up to get good feedback. And at the very least, it's going to tell you whether you're on path or not, or it's going to tell you what new opportunities are opening up as you take a step forward, and that is inherently motivating. Let's use an example to flesh this out. So let's say you want to cook a meal. If you were taking an abstract ideation approach, you might just sit on the couch, think about what you want to create, or you might get on Pinterest or search online for different recipes until you find a recipe that is most intriguing to you. And then once you select that, you would deconstruct a plan on how you're going to make that meal happen. If you were doing concrete ideation, the first thing you would do is you would notice your relationships and your affordances. So you'd go to the fridge, you'd open the fridge, you'd see what ingredients you have. You'd go to the food pantry. Or you might think, my grandmother's next door, or my neighbor's next door, or the kids are here, and maybe they'll lend a hand. Or my grandmother is particularly good at pasta, or my neighbor is particularly good at baking desserts. And you would start to form a meal plan based on what you have available. So consider how motivation might play out in each example. In abstract ideation, maybe you figure out that you want to make a mushroom risotto, but when you look in the pantry and in the refrigerator, you realize that you don't have any mushrooms, so you have to go to the grocery store, and you also have to pick up your kids from school, so you have to reroute your whole path to the destination, and suddenly you're multitasking and trying to figure out how you're going to ultimately make the thing that originally sounded really good, but requires all these sort of like obstacles along the way that you didn't originally anticipate. With concrete ideation, let's say instead you go and you look in your refrigerator, you see a number of ingredients, and maybe you don't have that many ingredients, you just have a few vegetables, but you have a bunch of leftover sauces and some limes, and you decide, okay, I'm gonna just experiment with some salad dressings. And you try 2 or 3 different combinations and you find one you really like, and now you have a new discovery for salad. And the whole process along the way is more intrinsically interesting and motivating, because you're not thinking about leaving and getting outside of the process and finding resources so that you can enter back into the process. The process itself is sort of self-sustaining in this way because you're already embedded in your actual affordances.